Are you all ready? Okay. Good morning, everyone. I would like to call to order the special meeting of the Seminole County Board of County Commissioners on Thursday, January 26th at 9 a.m. If you would please silence all cell phones and electronic devices. And Commissioner Delary, if you would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Absolutely. Please stand. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much for that. As you all know, this morning is our opportunity to have the final public interviews with our candidates for county manager. I will invite Renee Narlock up here shortly to walk us through the process. But before we do that, I know there might be some members of the public who would like to make public comment. So I'm going to go ahead and read the rules for public participation to keep in mind as we move forward through this process this morning. Pursuant to Florida law, the public has a right to be heard on all propositions except when the Board of County Commissioners is acting on ministerial or emergency matters or conducting a meeting exempt from Section 286.011 Florida statutes. Public comment time on propositions shall be 3 minutes for individuals and 6 minutes for group representatives. In accordance with the operating policies and procedures of the Seminole County Board of County Commissioners, Section 2.175, public participation before the board, comments shall be limited to the subject being discussed, considered by the board. All public comments shall avoid personal attacks, abusive language and redundancy. Disrespectful, rude, irrelevant, or slanderous remarks or disruptive behavior may subject the individual to removal from the board chambers. The chairman may curtail repetitious comments. And with that, I will ask Renee Narlock, if she would please, to come forward and go over today's schedule. And this podium right here is probably the best spot.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Good to see everyone today. As you know, we have 3 finalists for the county manager position that'll be interviewing this morning in this public setting with each of you. And our schedule is Mr. Stanley Hawthorne is first, Mr. Jim Harriet is second, and Mr. Darren Gray is our third candidate. We have allotted at least 30 minutes for each candidate, but that's just a not to exceed amount. If we don't need that, I have all of them waiting in the wings, ready to come in. And I suspect they would like to probably take a few minutes at the onset just to share a little bit about what they've done, who they are, what they bring to the table, and then, of course, to answer any questions that you have. Of course, there are questions that you cannot ask. I know that you're well aware of that. I shared that with you earlier this week, but anything related to age, race, ethnicity, national origin, color, religion, marital status, gender identity, and the list goes on and on. We cannot broach those subjects with any candidates during interview process. So just be mindful of that. And there are some rating and ranking sheets in your booklet. Those are helpful as you're talking with candidates, just to go down and look at some of their soft skills. And even there's a designated area in one of those forms to make notations, and I would encourage you to note anything relative to their strengths for the position, as well as any concerns that you might have relative to them as a candidate. That would help in our debriefing session if we need to talk in specifics about each candidate. I will just mention for the record that candidates have been through other processes leading up to this. This is not the only thing. They actually met, as you know, with each of you one-on-one this week, spent some time with you. They also met with them in a group setting. Each of them met in a group setting with your senior staff and department directors for some time and had a good Q&A session. And then we had a terrific meet and greet last night. I'm just going to say for the record, it's probably one of the best I've ever seen put together. And it was just so nice, and the turnout was great, and the people were so engaged. And, you know, I think it says a lot about you as a county, to tell you the truth. And kudos to those folks that were involved in setting that up. It was just really, and I've heard a lot of other people say the same thing. So with that said, In addition to the meet and greet, the candidates also did have an opportunity to do what I call a self-guided tour of the county over the last few days. They want to go out and scope out the land, if you will. So Chairman, with that said, I'll turn it back over to you. I do have Mr. Hawthorne waiting in the downstairs area here, so we won't have much of a delay.
Okay.
And I'll have candidates ready to go as needed.
All right. Someone has a cell phone near a microphone. Okay. All right. Yes, Commissioner Zembauer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to take a moment and express my sincere gratitude to Ms. Narlock for the professionalism, as well as the depth and breadth of candidates that you were able to secure and bring before us. I think it's a huge ray of hope, a success that you brought before us, and I thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Commissioner.
And Madam Chair, very quickly, if I can.
Please.
I think we all share in the thought that we really enjoyed this process more than the last one. Saying nothing about the previous candidates, they just weren't a match for us. I think we all agreed with that. But I did want to comment on Ms. Narlock, because I think all of us, at least it's the general impression I've had, that all of us are satisfied that she really has gone the extra mile in looking to find the best candidates for us. And my general impression, I think we all know, because we've commented on this before, this is not, finding the best candidate is not, unique to Seminole County. There is a dearth of candidates for county and city managers throughout the state of Florida. And in talking to Ginger Delegal, the county, the executive director of the Florida Association of Counties, we recognize this. It became something that I wanted to do during my year of office as president. We've already began the process of starting just like we do for candidates, for elected officials, a school to find and start to educate those that wish to move up. And I was so impressed with Ms. Narlock that I've already got her with Ginger, and she's helping put the program together. So I just wanted all of you to know that.
That's great.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Great work.
Wonderful. Any other questions about the process or anything before we have Ms. Narlock go and get Mr. Hawthorne?
Good.
All right.
Okay?
Yep,
Okay.
we're
I'll
ready to
bring
roll.
Mr. Hawthorne in now.
Thank you so much.
We can talk all day if we want,
Yep, absolutely.
which I'm not planning on.
I'm going to hold you to that.
I just wanted you all to
I've
know
always
that
been
before we
very
got
succinct and
into
to the point. Check the record. Excuse me?
Let's not do anything in the next 3 minutes that causes someone to remove themselves
No.
from the process.
And we could talk about Renee all day long. She's doing a
Which is
phenomenal job.
Phenomenal.
She's going to be with us to help
Did you have
more.
something to
That's
say?
what I wanted to say.
I had nothing to say. I'll say it afterwards. How was the chili? How was the chili?
Interesting.
Oh, I thought you were going to move it.
There was some good ones.
I don't think there was chili there. I can test that.
And a lot of this like soup. Like,
I've done it a couple of times for other people, and it's amazing. They put truffle in it, they put white chili.
oh yeah, cinnamon, chicken, and turkey.
One person did tofu turkey.
Right.
Okay.
So, that's good.
Good morning, Mr. Hawthorne. We're going to have you come right on up to the podium.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah, feel free to take a moment to get settled, and you can use that table to your right if you need to set things down.
Thank you.
So what we'd like to do, Mr. Hawthorne, if you're willing, is give you a few moments to just introduce yourself and share some thoughts about this position, and then any questions that the board members may have, we'll go from there.
Okay,
All right.
sounds good. Well, good day, commissioners,
Good morning.
community builders, as I refer to employees, and neighbors of Seminole County. Well, we certainly, over the past couple of days, have gotten a chance to get to know one another and to make mutual assessments. I will tell you that mine is most positive. But I did want to take this opportunity in 3 to 4 minutes to speak to you again, to remind you of my background, but particularly for those of the general community who I haven't had a chance to meet and talk to. I am Stanley Hawthorne, a native Floridian, born and raised in Highlands County, having also served 28 years as a Florida local government administrator. It is my honor to be here as a candidate for Seminole County Manager. Your selection process has been comprehensive and fair. First, let me share one of the personal passions of my life. I am a Florida foster parent of many years, and I've served hopefully in a supportive and mentoring role in the lives of dozens, up to hundreds of young people. While I am no longer active in the foster care program, my last child from the program has lived with me for half of his life and moved with me from Florida to Connecticut nearly 2 years ago. I look forward to introducing you to Joshua Emerson, a native of Florida, when we return to Florida, Seminole County, hopefully. Moving to my educational and professional background, I earned a Master of Arts in Public Administration from Thomas Jefferson's University of Virginia. As a fellow in that program, my public service career began with the city of Charlottesville, followed by an opportunity in the state of Michigan for 7 years, before returning to my home state of Florida, where most of my career has been spent, including as a chief administrator, assistant administrator, finance director, and budget director in various jurisdictions in Broward, Highlands, and Polk counties. Currently, I am the chief executive officer in Bloomfield, Connecticut. As counties are not functional in Connecticut, the town provides a full range of county and municipal services, including my supervision of the equivalent functions for each of the constitutional offices, of course, the Board of County Commissions departments, as well as the proposed budget for the school board. So all equivalent functions that I've supervised. Real effectiveness over the course of my career has been achieved through a combination of characteristics, including as a progressively experienced local government administrator, specialized in strategic planning and financial management. As a diverse practitioner, having worked in different geographical regions of the country and Florida. As a caring, competent, and committed public servant. As an empathetic and ethical leader. As a responsive and accountable professional. As a transparent and forthright purveyor of public information. And finally, as a team-oriented, appreciative, and collaborative colleague. As I previously stated, your selection process has been comprehensive as my preparation has been thorough. I have studied the Board of County Commission's key strategic priorities and reviewed the interim county manager's future challenges outlined in the fiscal year 2023 budget, I stand ready and willing if asked, and capable to meet those opportunities and challenges, partnering with the governing body, neighbors, stakeholders, and community builders of Seminole County. Thank you again for the honor of participating.
Thank you, Mr. Hawthorne.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments from the board? I would just say how much I thoroughly enjoyed getting to know you and spending time together in our one-on-one and getting to see you last night with the community. I had so many positive comments from members of our community about their opportunity to meet with you. And so I just thank you for being a part of this process.
Thank you so much. It is certainly mutual.
Thank you. Oh, okay. Commissioner Zembauer, then Commissioner Constantine.
I also enjoyed our time together and come to know that some commonality of geographic location of
Yes.
some of your family to one of my dear places that my family enjoys in a small town in Alabama by the name of Abbeville, Alabama, and Troy University that you attended.
Yes.
And so I again, thank you very much for applying. I appreciate the time you've spent with us. I think we've got a lot of great candidates and tough decisions to make here, so thank you very much.
It's good for you, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Commissioner Constantine.
Thank you very much. Mr. Hawthorne, I also want to thank you. I've thoroughly enjoyed our time together. You've had the opportunity to meet the citizens and the staff and the commissioners and certainly visit throughout the county since you've been here. I think you said you came since Saturday. What is your general impression?
Lovely community. You know, I have found in my travels and places that I've lived that you get a sense of the community when they remind you, when you assume that they're not paying attention or that they might not say hi first. And that's what I've experienced. The people of this community, throughout this community, and I've gone all over, I took advantage of the time, as you said, Commissioner. And so I've simply fallen in love with Seminole County. Now, being from Florida, I'm well familiar with this county, but this has been as intimate of time that I've ever spent. And you should be proud of what you have. It's all about people and places, and you've got the both of both worlds, in my opinion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I look forward to staying in touch and working with you and now and in the future. It's always been a pleasure. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Commissioner Delary.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Hawthorne, first of all, thank you for not only applying, but being open as you have been. The time that we spent together, I really enjoyed. We spoke a little bit about the transition from Florida to Connecticut, and some people may not realize the significance of that, because in the Northeast states, the cities or the townships do more than what counties do. They are the center point. And as you clearly stated in your opening comments, not only do you run the city, but you kind of run the area around the cities almost like the county, and some of the constitutional positions as well. Your depth of knowledge of local government is vast and very comprehensive, and I wanted to thank you for sharing that with us. And I truly see you as a very good, not just a good person, not just a good leader, but very well-rounded and informed. So I wanted to thank you personally for sharing that with us and with me when we did our one-on-one. Very well done. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I don't want you to think that I'm not appreciative of you being here. I actually am not going to duplicate everything that everybody said. What I would tell you is that I learned from you in our time together. I appreciate you being interested in Seminole, and I wish you the best of luck.
Thank you so much. Same to you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hawthorne.
Thank
If we
you.
have any other questions or anything else comes up this morning.
I do not,
Okay,
but
thank
it's been a
you.
pleasure once again.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Take
you.
care.
So our next candidate is Mr. Jim Harriet, and I'm sure that Renee is going to be bringing him back shortly. Good morning, Mr. Harriet.
Good morning.
If you would like to just come right up to the podium, yep. Thank you so much for being here. What we'll do is give you a few minutes to tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe any community members that are here or watching online, and then we'll have an opportunity to ask any questions while you're here.
Excellent. Well, thank you for having me down here. It's been a great experience, and getting to know the staff and talking to the staff, getting to talk to you, getting to see the community and getting around here over the last few days. And the recruitment process has been fabulous. You hired a great recruiter in that, so thank you, all that. A little bit about me. I always start with my family. I've been married for 31 years in March. We have 3 children. We're a pretty close-knit family. But 2 of those children have kind of taken life down into this area of the state. So, you know, that's drawn us a little bit closer. We find ourselves down in this area probably once a week on average, sometimes 2 times a week. Sometimes it's just for the evening for dinner. And it makes a difficult job when you come a couple hours, have a dinner, and then a couple hours back. So that's, you know, what brings the interest here. Professionally, I started out in Sarasota County, straight out of college, as a plan reviewer and a traffic study technician, and doing traffic studies for developments, reviewing developments consistent with to ensure they were consistent with the land development regulations. And that parlayed into a manager position of the Transportation Planning Division, which moved into a general manager position over the Transit and Transportation Planning Divisions. And things kept moving and kept changing. I got fortunate ability to direct their transportation mobility program, which included the 2 departments plus all the road construction and highway construction, which then moved into general manager of public works, which brought in the vertical facilities, the horizontal facilities. During that time, they asked me to take on the capital program. The county pulled all the capital improvement projects into one group. We recreated it out of 2 CIPs. We added parks, we added facilities to that, and I was in charge of building everything that they were doing down there. Vertical, horizontal, above ground, below ground, beach renourishments, everything that was going on fell under my purview. It was just a great experience. And then an opportunity opened up in Alachua County and for deputy county manager to oversee their planning operations, their facilities, their infrastructure operations, public works. And I was fortunate enough to move up there, and we did that work for 7 years, and I served as deputy county manager, where I worked, you know, right next to the county manager. As deputy, I had signing authority as the manager. If she wasn't available, I could sign for information and was required to follow those rules and follow that office that way. We worked very well together and did some really cool projects to, you know, expand economic development and tourism. If you drive up the interstate going northbound on I-75 on the left, there's a big development called Celebration Point, and we're building the southeast's only indoor track facility, NCAA grade facility, and that was one of the projects I worked on there. They threw that at me and asked me to work out the public-private partnership of that, and it's under construction right now. They held their first event on the 13th of January. And then the next event will be a series of basketball and volleyball tournaments starting in May. And then one day I got an offer to move over to the private side and took that opportunity. Private side was where I thought I always wanted to be. And government had just picked up pace, and we were doing good things and having fun, so I took the opportunity on the private side, and come to find out, I just miss government. I know that's hard sometimes for people to realize, but the breadth of the issues and the policies you're working on, the projects, it just never gets bored. I love the public service element, and I'm sure, each one of you can relate to that, being able to talk to the community and just help solve the problems. That brings me here.
Fantastic, thank you. Any comments or questions? Yes, Ms.
I actually do have a question. Mr. Harriet, what do you see as our greatest opportunity?
I think your greatest opportunity is you're sitting on the outside of Orlando, but you're definitely not Orlando, and that's what really attracted us here. There is such thing as a city and urban and all that comes with it, but you've got this this environmental element, this natural lands element that just can't be denied and should be protected. I think you're a community about ready to explode on that. Obviously, you're developed out, but that opens up the door to what's next. How do you redevelop some of that as it comes forward? What happens with the shopping malls and the shopping centers as they move forward? Is your redevelopment efforts, are they based on what's next in terms of newness and infrastructure, or is redevelopment just new awnings and a new paint job, which would sell the community short, I think, a little bit. So I think that's a huge opportunity. You're right on the door of some big things. I can tell you, I'm originally and was born and raised in the Detroit area, so the city isn't foreign to me. My children were raised in Sarasota and Alachua County, and they came to Orlando, and they think it's fabulous. I mean, so I've got a 20-year-old and a 23-year-old, 24-year-old, sorry, that live in this area, in and around this area, and they just think it's the place. It's just the place to be. And I think Seminole County offers a unique element to that, where it's a little more rural, trees, a little softer edge to it. It's just a fabulous opportunity.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Constantine?
And I just want to kind of piggyback on that and ask a similar question that I will ask all the members. You've had the opportunity to meet with the staff, the citizens, tour the community, meet with the commissioners. Give me, as your overall impression and opportunities that you see.
The overall impression, first of all, the staff is fabulous. I mean, to a T, everyone I've met is very, very fabulous. We had the public community meetings last night where the community came in, and there's something that jumped out at me that I noticed right away. Staff would come into those meetings too, and they held back. They allowed the community to take a step up and talk to the candidate, or at least in my room. And then when everything would die down, they would step in and ask a question. But the moment some citizen would walk up, they would kind of take a back seat. And I just thought that was an amazing sense of respect that the staff had for the community and the community involvement. Community involvement is obviously big and huge here. You had a lot of people at that community last night. Everybody I spoke to loves the community. They don't want to see it change, but they want to see it get better and improve. So they want something bigger and better, but they don't want to lose what they have. And I think that's what stands out, is that balance between how do you make this, how do you take this community to the next step, but not lose the character in what it was in the past.
Thank you very much. And thank you for the opportunity to meet you and get to know you and potentially work with you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Sandbauer?
Thank you, Madam Chair. One interesting aspect that I noticed was your time in the private sector. And I think private sector brings a great deal of additional knowledge, wisdom, and so forth to a position in government. So my biggest question is, similar to what's already been asked, what do you observe to be the largest challenge Seminole County faces in the next couple decades?
I think One that jumps right out is funding and that push and pull between, the infrastructure needing to be improved, the community pressures of improving the infrastructure, the taxes associated with that, and how those taxes fit into the community and what they see going forward. The surtax is big on your horizon. That's very obvious. Every community that's ever adopted a surtax, that's a huge, important issue. It's really the community's tax. That's the surtax is where countywide every citizen gets to say, we're going to pass it or we're not. We're going to get the projects and do the projects with it, or we're not. So that's a huge one in moving that forward, and that goes on for quite a while, several years out there. You've got some big bills coming. I know the bigger communities in and around, you're part of a bigger area that's saying, hey, we need transit, and we need rail. How do you deal with those? And all the while, how do you keep the tax base at its lowest, I'll say lowest possible, because I don't want to pay any more taxes than anybody else does. From a business standpoint, I came from Sarasota County, where I read a book about widgets, and it was about government. We don't make widgets, or we don't produce widgets. I don't remember the title, but if you type in government widgets, you'll likely find it. And its thing was, yes, you do, and you can analyze and watch how you're performing on everything. And it's much simpler than I think we make it out in government sometimes. In the capital management services, we had 3 key indicators that everybody in the department worked by, because this group was formed to deliver the projects. If there was no project funding, there was no way to pay this group of people, about 40, 45 staff members. So was the project on time? Was the project on schedule? Was it on budget? And did we do it according to the scope that was expected? We did customer surveys. Did we do a good job with this project? Did we do a good job during the project? And we used those measures to judge how well we were doing on the capital project and the capital program. We were 97% on time. We were told to be urgent in producing them, so get in, get out. But we were 97% on time. We always hit the scope, and we always hit the adopted budget for the project. There were just a couple incidents where, things got a little waylaid, but that was usually at the discussion of the community and the board as we went through. And that's how we judge our performance. Our time was actually billed to those projects. So we could very easily tell whether we were doing a good job or bad job. We could tell if we were running, say hot, we were running over budget or pushing budget. If we were spending too much time or not enough time, we could easily tell that based on the indicators, and we reported that to the community. So when I got to the consulting side, it was very similar. If I come in as a consultant, say it's going to cost you $100,000 for me to do a study, and you pay that $100,000, I better have made the assumptions on how much time it takes to come up with that fee, or the company loses money. So they were very similar that way. The aspects of how well you're doing, what performance you're doing. In terms of performance measures, I like to keep it simple. It's what is the community complaining about? When I got to Alachua County, the Growth Management Division, Code Enforcement, one of their measures was how many permits did we do? Which is sort of like public saying, how much milk did we sell? It's a little bit more about that. Nobody knows how many permits you're going to do. Sometimes it's 100, sometimes it might be 50, depending on the year and what's going on. But most of the time, your complaint is, did you get my permit done in time? Was it done in a week? Was it done in 2 weeks? And if I can provide you the budget information that way and the time information that way, now you can make a policy discussion to say, or a policy decision to say, gee, we can slim down this budget and extend the time because we're far exceeding the community's expectations. On the other hand, if we need to shorten up the time and deliver on permits, that might cost us a little bit more money, but at least you're working with that information to guide your policy discussions. And that's really what we did in Sarasota and what we were starting to get into in Alachua County, and that's what we do all the time in the consulting side.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions or comments? I would just ask, we talked about widgets and timelines and projects, and that's so much of what we deliver, but we do all of that because we have people.
Right.
So can you talk to me about your leadership style and working with the people in the organization, not just employees, but your relationship with the board and the community?
I'm collaborative, work with the team. I like to get as many people as possible in on the project early on. One of the phrases we always used was, who's not in this room that needs to be, to make sure we've got all the looks going on. It's horrible to get 75% through a project and realize you left somebody out, like historical resources or something like that. At that point, something's probably gone wrong or is about to go wrong on you. And, now you're in fix-it mode. I like my work environment to be relaxed. I tend to be a little bit more laid back. If a problem comes up, we're just going to work the problem and solve it and keep moving on. I prefer more of a family atmosphere from a leadership standpoint, more collaborative. The employees mean a lot to me. I've worked in environments that were a little bit more, corporate, say, that New York City corporate push. It's just not fun, and it takes a strain. I can tell you, I told some of you probably the story if I've already done it, sorry if I'm repeating myself, but I started out and was the general manager over a fairly large operation, and my son's first birthday came up. It was a Thursday, and I got up in the morning and went to work. Came home from work. My wife had made chicken nuggets and fries, his favorite meal. We ate. We opened some presents. It was just the three of us. Opened some presents, and we had cupcakes or cake. I don't remember which, but he almost fell asleep. It's about 6:30, well before his bedtime. Almost fell asleep in the cake. So she cleaned him up and put him to bed, and I went, that was like an hour and a half for a first birthday. And she said, well, let me show you my camera. We didn't have phones with it, took pictures. She starts flipping through pictures on the camera. They went to the museum, they went to the fountains, they went to the park downtown, they had lunch at Chick-fil-A, chicken nuggets and fries. Again. And they had this grand day. And then I came in at the end, and I said, this is awful. I missed the first birthday. And I can say that I did not miss another birthday for that child until he was 23 years old. He was down here. He was born a week before Christmas. I think it was a practice he's a music director at a church in Claremont. It was a practice for Christmas Eve, and he's like, Dad, I can't do it. I'm not having birthday. My birthday's on hold. I got to do this. That was the first one I missed. I've made all my other children, my two other children, every birthday, taken them off. Anniversaries, take them off. So I will tell staff and the directors, and I've always done this since that day, you need to focus on that part. You need to focus on that family. If there's a big day in your life, take it off, take part of it off, whatever's necessary, but make sure that comes first. Let us know what's happening in your life so we can adjust to it. If there's a big item and it falls on your child's birthday, take the day off. We'll cover the item, even if I have to stand up here and do the item. It's just a belief I have. I told every manager, all the one-on-one meetings I've ever supervised and the staffs I've ever supervised, that's the way it is. And hopefully they take that advice. I think I just told your staff that. So one other point too is when I meet with staff, I have a phone. It's my personal phone number. I've had it since 1998. When you'd flip them, it's just got a lot of contacts in it. Every staff member gets that phone number. If you hear a rumor, you hear something I've said and you think it was odd, you hear something that doesn't make sense, call me. Pick up the phone and call me. And it's happened a couple of times. I might let the call go to voicemails because I'm not sure if you're selling me insurance or a warranty on my car.
Hey,
but-
hey. Be careful.
Okay.
And the insurance member of the board.
You've never called me for
No,
insurance.
I don't make calls.
She hires
Warranty
others
on-
to do it.
Warranty on cars tends to be the big one. But anyways, let it go to voicemail, I'll pick it up, and I'll call you back. But, I don't want that gap to happen, and it can happen in 1,400 people. That type of communication gap can happen. So those are two things I do to try and bring a family together. I can tell you on the private side, they are very conscious of that. They're very conscious of that. And working as a family means a lot, and I think that makes a lot of sense on the public side.
Wonderful. Thank you. Another question, Mr.
I have
Zembar?
one final question, and I just have to know. Does your son still have chicken nuggets for dinner?
Sometimes. He's actually the child, so every parent out there that has a child that eats chicken nuggets and fries every night when they're young, he's the child that when we took the family on a cruise and the first day on the bar, he comes over and he sits down and, the buffets and everything, and he's got oysters on the half shell. And he sucks one of them in his mouth, and I'm like, you ever eaten those before? And he goes, nope. I'm like, do you like them? He goes, they're kind of awful and rubbery. And then he grabs the second one and goes, eats it and goes, yeah, I don't care for him that much. He eats everything under the sun, and it all happens because of a dinner we had at Epcot, the teppanyaki steakhouse. When the guy started flipping the knives and the shrimp and everything, he was like, I want to catch that thing that's flying through the air and eat that. That's what changed him, and he was about 5 years old when that happened, so.
That's phenomenal.
Thank you.
Oh, gosh.
Magical place.
We all have that.
Magical place. Croutons and cheese for 3 years. That's all the boy
Magical
ate.
place, I'm just telling you.
As long as they're growing, right?
That's right.
Right on.
Mr. Harriet, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We appreciate getting to know you. I have no doubt that you would lead well and lead with humility, and that means a lot. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's been a great experience. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim.
Does anybody at that end of the dais care for any chocolate?
No.
Chocolate?
Thank you. What kind of car was your sister driving?
Chrysler Pacifica.
That's a good thing.
Yeah.
Janie's got them.
A lot of metal around.
All the airbags. Her husband sent me a picture. I'm like, oh my. Yeah.
Well, it could have been worse. It could have been the car you drove today.
True.
Did you see the thing that looks like a Lamborghini out there, or whatever it is?
That's the only thing that was free to drive. Everything else was
Yeah, but you
blocked
don't
in
want
by
to
a
be
garbage can or.
But you don't want to be in an accident in a car like that.
No, no.
I love my Mazda Miata convertible, but I do drive safer under that than I would any other car.
Welcome, Mr. Gray.
Hey,
Give you a minute to get settled,
thank you.
and we'll just open it up for you to share what you would like the board and the community to know. Tell us a little bit about yourself and the position.
Absolutely, and thank you for inviting me here. It's been a great process these last couple of days. I've thought I knew Seminole a little bit. I got a little bit more information, so I appreciate the process. But I'm a hometown boy. I would say I grew up here in Central Florida, grew up in Osceola County, has spent my 25-plus years, my professional career here in Central Florida. Over a decade of those have been either a city or a county manager as well. So I know a lot about what Central Florida is about. I know a lot of the issues in Central Florida. I have some great relationships here as well. So I'm excited about this opportunity, and I know I would not let any of you down with this. But thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, any questions, comments? Commissioner Zembauer.
First of all, thank you very much for applying. You currently have a position in the region.
Yeah.
And we talked about this on the dais at our last BCC, and the issue of putting your name into the sunshine.
Yes.
And your employer immediately knows that you're now seeking for outside of where you're currently employed. So thank you for taking that leap of faith. Tell us a little bit about a time in your career when you would say you had your most challenging scenario, and what skills you brought and applied to bring that project or scenario to fruition and complete that task.
Thank you for that, Commissioner. It would have to be the Claremont Master Plan. As you all know, I have been in Claremont. I had been there both as the assistant city manager and the city manager for 15 years. When I became the city manager, the reason I went back to Claremont to be the city manager, they were in desperate need. They were growing by leaps and bounds. They had quadrupled in population. Morale was not at the top of the list. They had a longtime manager that had left. They needed to balance their growth opportunities with what the new residents and the existing residents and business owners wanted. I knew that as a new manager, even though I knew the community, I knew I had to reintroduce myself back out into that community, get that trust back with the community, and really ask them, along with our elected officials, what they wanted their community to be. And I'll tell you, that's why that plan was so successful. It was challenging in the sense that it took a while, but how authentic the process was is the reason that community is flourishing even today. We had several community forums that we did. We had over 1,000 people show up for these forums. It was like they were hungry for a future. But the result of that, we came up with a 10-year master plan. We got it done in almost half the time of that. We redeveloped their downtown. The hospital campus, the National Training Center was a big connection point, as well as the south, the growth of the city to the south. So challenging in the fact that you have to keep all the balls up in the air, but I'll tell you, communication is key, not only with our elected officials, but with our business owners and our community. So it was probably my pride and joy. Learned how to be a manager there, honestly, how to be a manager there, and really had really top-notch job satisfaction after you can see something. I said this yesterday to your staff, when only thing I described as birth. You birth something, you see it go through the process, but the key to that is the implementation. And when you see a plan being implemented, that's success. So,
Thank you very much.
Well,
Thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Delary.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Gray, thank you for applying, and thank you for the time that you spent with us as well as the community and the staff. You just told us that you've been in the region for quite some time,
Yes.
and not only have you been in the region, but you've been involved.
yes.
Regionally, what do you think the big issues are that we're facing, and how would you go about trying to address them?
Well, top transportation, big. I know that Sunrail's a big piece, and where we go in that, and who's going to be funding what locals have to come up with the funding for that. So that is definitely on the horizon. Affordable housing is always a big piece, so it should be actually a part of the plan to ensure that we have housing for everyone in the community. I know the sales tax is going to be something that we're going to be talking about shortly if the community wants to continue with it. I tell you, funding sources for local governments are very difficult these days. We know that. There's very few. My job as the manager to you all and the commitment that I have, I will provide you options so you can look at it to ensure if or when or what you decide to do with different funding sources, that you have all the options on the table and we have vetted them all out before so you can make the best decision possible. So what I like to do, when you look at, regionally, I love to collaborate with the region, and one of my biggest strengths, I believe, is relationship building. I know, since I've been here for 25 plus years, I know a lot of folks in the region. I know I can reach out to any one of them and collaborate, because we know that, especially, say, transportation or housing or anything that we talk about that are big issues in the region, that they don't stop at county lines or jurisdictional lines, and that we need each other, not only regionally, but within our county with the cities, too. And I was great to hear, I'll say, from your staff that you have great relationships with your 7 cities here. That is important. When I was in Lake County, we had 14 municipalities, and they didn't get along all the time. But no, so speak with you all, talk with your staff about what are the top priorities, and then on a regional basis, then work out our plans on how we're going to accomplish that with all of us sitting at the table.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Constantine.
Yes, Mr. Gray, I have 2 quick questions.
Sure.
First of all, you were working in Osceola County. I think that the idea when you went there was, I was going to be the next county manager, thinking that Mr. Fisher might retire. You then went, and that didn't work out. I know that right now your others have talked to you. Why is Seminole County your first choice? And is it?
Yes, it is my first choice, and you're right. It's funny is that once you put your name out in the market, you start, people start calling you. And as I have told you all through our one-on-ones, I was looking at this position over a year ago. Us in the region, public administrators, whether they like it or not, whether they admit it, Seminole County has always been on the top of the pedestal. Whatever you all do here, whatever the recipe is here, you do it very well. And so I knew Seminole County is where I wanted to be. Last year, Nicole, at the time, your previous county manager, hadn't even left yet, so there wasn't a process. Mr. Fisher somehow found out that I was out there wanting to be, because when I went to Orange County, I knew that the manager position is where I need to be back to. This is what I'm good at, what I love to do. And when this opportunity came up, like I said, I grew up around here in Central Florida. What I think Seminole County has that no other county in Central Florida has, because I've been through all of them and worked in a lot of them. Not only do you have the economic development track record over the years, your infrastructure is great. It's your natural resources here that balances everything out. You have the quality of life that attracts me and my family that would love to come here and live here in Seminole County, and I would love to have the opportunity to lead on the staff side in the manager position for that.
So the follow-up that I have is, you were born in Kissimmee.
Yes. I
What
wasn't born in
was that question, Commissioner? I didn't hear the question.
I'm sorry, the second question.
What was the second question?
I'm getting to it.
Okay.
Oh, it was just a little hard to hear. I think that's why you
Okay,
leaned
you
forward.
got it. I'm going to, okay, you were raised in Kissimmee.
Yes.
And but you've had the chance to meet with the citizens here in Seminole County, obviously working in Orange and Osceola. You knew about us, as you said, but you really didn't know
Right.
about us. So now you've met our citizens, you've met the staff, you've met the commissioners, you've toured the community. General impressions, and what do you see as the greatest opportunity?
I'll tell you, you have some of the best citizens, and I'm not just saying that because I have been around a few communities. The event last night I really enjoyed, because as you come in as a new county manager or city manager or whatever jurisdiction you're at, you usually don't get to meet the community until later on, and then, how to do it. Last night gave me an opportunity to see a snapshot picture. There were citizens here, just day-to-day citizens, that they would come up and introduce to me. I'm just a resident here, and I said, well, you're probably the most important person here. You had the schools there, school board members were there, the college was there, nonprofits were there. I mean, you had a variety of a lot of people, and that's what attracted me, what even made me more excited about this position, I see what you have here in Seminole County. You are a tight-knit community, at least my impression of just being here for the last couple of days and interacting with them. You don't get that in a lot of communities. Sometimes you get that in cities because they're a little more compact. Counties, I have never, in Lake Orange and Osceola, I have never seen the tightest and well-versed community that you have here, and that's exciting for me because that means they're paying attention. You all are communicating with them. We're listening to them, and that's what excites me about being in a county in a position like this.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Commissioner Herr.
Yes, Mr. Gray, thank you for being here. I also wanted to thank you for the 30, 60, 90-day plan. I thought it was concise, precise, and just hit the mark, and the only one that we received. I have been a witness to organizations that you have left and the aftermath. For those of you that don't know, the city of Claremont is a client of mine, and I have never in all of my years of doing business with government entities witnessed a team so devastated at the departure of any human. And so I'm going to ask the question with that backdrop of how do you make that happen?
You know, and I had a meeting with your staff yesterday, which is phenomenal, and each of you has said that on my one-on-ones with you, the great staff that you have here. I know I am just one person, and I know I can't do it all or know it all. If you do not have a good team around you, and you bring them in and you debate with them and you collaborate with them, you don't have anything. We understand that. We could sit up here all day long and put whatever policies we want to put in place or procedures, but if you do not have the buy-in of your staff and your leadership team, you don't have it. And I had, maybe growing up in an organization like that, knowing how I wanted my opinion to be heard, that when I made it to a manager level position, I insisted that my team, I always say I operate around a round table. I'm side by side. I know at the end of the day I have to make the decision. I'm the one that it falls upon, but I will not do it in a vacuum, and I will definitely, I've always am an inclusive manager. I mean, include folks. And I don't micromanage them either, which is the other thing. I let them do what they need to do.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? My question was related to basically culture and leadership style, and I think you just answered that for us. So
Yeah.
Unless there's anything else you'd like to expand on in that realm.
No, I am who you see. I foster that leadership ability, inclusive. I'm there, servant leadership type, there to support them however they need it. There's some managers that say, no, I don't need any, but I know you're there when I need you. Some, I need to pat on the back and be there with them and assure them. That's the type of manager I'm there. I'm there to support them wherever they need to be.
Wonderful. Thank you. Any other questions for us?
No, just I am really excited. Like I said, this is primary job one for me, and I've had an amazing time here the last couple of days. I hope that I am your candidate. I will serve you like you 110, 150, 200%. I will make sure not only that you all are communicated with and that we set up a structure for communication that fits us all, that you all are receiving information at the same time, but I'll do that with our leadership team and our staff and our community as well. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for your time. Ms. Beach, I think we have some forms for public comment.
Just one.
Okay, if there's anyone else that has a form that would like to make public comment, could you please bring it down to Shani so we can, all right, who is our first person?
Isaac Abdunasaya.
Okay. And I did read the statement for public participation earlier today, and I know that you have heard it multiple times, so I'm not going to repeat it.
No, it's okay, thank you.
Okay.
I just wanted to say thank you for having this meeting. I think it's great that we actually have candidates who want to come in and fill this role from a young person like me. I have seen, after coming to a various amount of meetings, that a county manager role is very detrimental to having a really good county and making sure that the, citizens of the community are well aware of things with the departments and just how the county flows. And I just hope that, whoever is picked, that they are able to find, areas that they can be fully transparent with the citizens of Seminole County, because that's most important. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll close public comment. Commissioners, the next thing we have on our agenda is to do a debrief with Ms. Narlock, and I don't know if you'd like her to go ahead. I think we'll have you come on back to the podium if you would. We have an opportunity to discuss and talk about all of the things that we have experienced over the last several days with these various candidates. So I will take your lead on how you would like to proceed in terms of debriefing with Ms. Narlock. Ms. Herr.
First of all, I would tell you that you should use us as your first reference on any future opportunities. And the process was run so well, I don't need a debrief.
Agreed, 100%.
I mean, it's been amazing.
Commissioner Daugherty and Commissioner Constantine.
Commissioner, I'm going to echo your statement. Your next marketing piece, I think you just need to play back this tape. I think you've done a phenomenal job. I think that I can't wait to rehire you in case we need to do something else.
Not that we want anyone else to leave.
Not
That we want anyone
But I
else
mean,
to leave.
if we're looking for another person, you're that person to help us find that. I'm not trying to put fear in anyone, but that's how good you are.
Thank you,
I
Commissioner.
mean, you were with us the whole way. You showed not just leadership, but professionalism, very much needed. You're a class act. I don't need to be debriefed. I think it's clear in my mind.
Okay.
You made it very easy for us.
Good.
You not only made it easy for us, but you brought us phenomenal candidates. That alone made it easy. And you gave us 5 phenomenal people. 2 got other opportunities, but the remaining 3 were just equally as good. So you made it so easy for us, don't think we need to debrief. I'm sorry.
All right, Commissioner Constantine.
Well, Madam Chair, I think I've said earlier that I would love to see at the statewide level this type of model. I hope you use this whole process as a model for the future. And like I said in your discussions with Ginger, I really think this could be a great opportunity as we move forward to do it. Mr. Chairman, I think we had 3 incredible candidates. All of them have pluses and minuses. Everyone does about in relating to the position, to the staff, the citizens, and although I think I could work with each and every one of them in a very positive way, I think that one, in my opinion, there was a reoccurring theme in talking to citizens, staff, and certainly my own feelings about relating to this job, the success of this community, how we are going to move forward, and therefore, if it's appropriate, I would like to move that we offer the job to Darren Gray.
I'll
Second.
second that.
So there's a motion and 2 seconds. Would you like to have any further discussion?
Yes, I would. I concur. I would like to perfect the motion, add some amendments to it if the motioner and seconders would be so inclined to.
So depending on how many commas you'd like to add to the motion, we could just take one, and then we have other things that we need to handle by motion as well.
Yes.
Understood.
So are we okay with just taking the motion and the second and voting on that and then moving on to the next item? Is that okay?
That'd be fine.
All right. So we have a motion and a second. I believe we're done with discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Okay. Commissioner Zembauer, you have another thing that you would like for us to take up, and I have quite a few as well on my list, so we'll let you go ahead and start.
And maybe some of these overlap with what you've, the fellow commissioner said. I would urge us to do two things, and I will move a motion that we allow and appoint Commissioner Herr to negotiate the contract with the candidate. It's my opinion that Commissioner Herr probably has the most background in contract negotiations. I also would add to that motion that we work with our outside employment counsel in getting this onboarded and negotiated as well.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, I do. In that, and you said there was a number of things, I was going to say, in that motion, do you want to set parameters?
I think that we'll do that next.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know. If
Yeah.
we're going to do that separately, that's fine.
Yeah. If
I
make it a
guess the
little
only other
cleaner.
thing that I would ask is that we also, I have no problem with the motion, but I think that we should also just amend it that our current county manager also be involved in that discussion as far as negotiations.
Ms. Narlock took a breath, and then Mr. Applegate
Okay.
raised his hand. So we'll go.
Okay,
No, I'm good.
You're good? Okay. Mr. Applegate?
I think is for a couple of reasons. I would say is, if you want, it should be Mr. Chip Box.
Where I was going to go.
okay, all right.
I was going to say the same thing.
I'm always thinking county attorney.
No, I appreciate that.
Yeah, my expectation would be that they would be included in that
Okay.
process.
So
Pull Chip on.
for
That was all, yes.
So for clarification of the motion, we are retaining outside counsel to work with Commissioner Herr on the negotiation of the contract, and for follow-up and other purposes for contact in the department and other help will be Mr. Chipak. Is that
Correct.
correct?
Correct.
Does the seconder agree?
Yes.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. The parameters that we have discussed, and at Ms. Narlock's assistance, excuse me, there are quite a few things in order to give Commissioner Herr the latitude that she needs and the flexibility that she needs to negotiate. And if you don't mind, I'll just run through them.
Please do.
Okay. So one of the things that we have in Seminole County is a timeline for the county manager to take up residence in the county. With the housing market the way that it is now, there's a recommendation that we extend that timeline to 6 to 12 months to allow them to.
I would agree.
Is there consensus on that?
Consensus.
Okay.
Absolutely.
The salary range,
Excuse me, just
Yes.
clarification? So is it 6 months or 12 months?
6 to 12 months.
6 to 12,
Yeah,
okay.
up to
So 12
up to 12 months.
Just make it
months.
easy, 12 months or less.
Otherwise, we're negotiating the contract right now. So let's be, right?
Again, just wanted to know what the
12 months or
parameters were.
less.
Okay,
6 to
thank you.
12 months, so
Okay.
12 months or less, however you want to say it.
Yep.
Great clarification. From a salary range, we have not discussed this prior to this conversation, so I'm going to throw out, and you all can, 240 to 260.
Agreed.
Fine.
There's consensus.
Not agreed.
Is there still consensus, though? Oh, Commissioner Zembauer, what is your
I
thought?
would like to give Commissioner Herr latitude to exceed that if necessary.
Does anyone feel that we need to let her go above 260?
I
There
do.
are other components of the
Understood.
compensation contract.
I would just suggest, Madam Chair, that if that becomes problematic, that Commissioner Herr can come back and offer, that she needs to go higher if that's, or lower, if that's the possibility. But I think 240 to 260 is in the right range.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'd just like to remind you again that these are the starting points for the negotiations. The final contract, or a version of a draft contract, will
back.
come back to this board.
Understood.
Right.
So if there is an issue on salary, that can be discussed more fully after the
Sure.
negotiations by this board.
I think what we want to do is give Commissioner Herr the complete latitude and authority, knowing that she has the support of the board to handle these matters in discussion. So, yeah, I think we're definitely tracking
So
the same.
from a clarification perspective, first of all, I've never negotiated a contract where you're giving me limits. So the way I'm viewing this, which may be inaccurate, which is why I want to bring this up, is that if I bring back a contract that's within these parameters, it would not be subject to much change at this level.
Correct.
And if I cannot bring back something that's within these parameters, then it would be subject to not being on the consent agenda. Let's put it like that. Is that a fair way to say this?
That's a great summary, I think.
you.
Does the board agree? I see head
Yes,
nods.
but again, I want to make sure that the commissioner has enough latitude, because there are many points to negotiate,
There are.
other benefits. And I just don't want to tie the commissioner's hands, nor am I
Right.
interested in having a meeting every week, because we've set a deadline of constraints that we can have a call meeting to give her more latitude, et cetera. Because if we can't trust our fellow commissioner to get it done,
I agree.
that's my position.
So these are, you got it. You said exactly. From PTO accrual, we want to start somewhere between 120 and 160 hours. That's sort of, okay, I'm getting a head nod of consensus. Yep. Car allowance in the range of 500 to 750. I see a head nod. Commissioner Zembauer and Constantine, are you okay with the car allowance?
I heard that.
Okay. Severance without cause of 16 weeks,
That's correct.
is that about appropriate?
I'm okay with that.
Okay, okay. There's consensus. I'm judging body language as well, so. Start date to be 30 days from today. Is that? Or less. Is that appropriate?
Madam Chair, the only reason why I would go to March 1st is to start the person mid-February. There could be some issues with benefits. That's the only reason I'm saying March 1st or sooner.
No issues with benefits with a mid-month start date. There are no issues with benefits with a mid-month start date.
No, and all I would...
Payroll,
And all I would
processing
say-
of payroll.
I'm sorry.
That's still
Just
benefits.
say 30 days or so.
Okay,
March
Commissioner
1st or
Zembauer
sooner.
and then Commissioner Constantine.
All I would say, and I understand why we're going through this, but we've put the parameters already on the street. And I think we just all got, I mean, a simple motion would be, do we agree with what we advertised this position to be, and then allow Commissioner Herr to do what she can do best?
We're making sure for the record that we all understand with what it is that we are agreeing to. So if everyone's nodding heads and saying yes, then we're great. So we're going to say start date 30 days or fewer. The term of the contract is something that has come up, and I believe an open-ended contract is something that many organizations are moving to. Ms. Narlock, I will defer to you if there are questions about that. Are we all comfortable with an open-ended contract?
That's correct.
Yes.
Yes, okay. Have I missed anything? And I will open it up to any of you to, yes, Commissioner Constantine.
Madam Chair, if you wish to codify all this consensus, I'm more than happy to make that motion.
Before we do that, let me make sure that we haven't missed anything.
One last item is relocation allowance for someone to move here. I appreciate that you've given the candidate sufficient time to relocate here not only because of the market right now and the challenges regarding that, but in the event they're in a current lease or something like that, they don't have to break it. And so within the next 12 months of relocating here, but in the case of Mr. Gray, who we're specifically talking about, he's down the road, but he does have to move items. I would suggest that you consider relocation allowance for him to move household goods in to here, and I would say not to exceed $5,000. I think it's probably more like $2,500 if I had to guess, but again, given that ceiling, and I think that would be greatly appreciated by the candidate.
Is the board comfortable with that approach?
I would say I have a truck and trailer and a bunch of friends.
Are we trying to
make it a
scare them away?
weekend.
You trying to make this harder for me?
We'll all make it a weekend going down there together.
That'd be a good welcome. We can all
We'll advertise it.
That's right. That's more than what's in line. If that's
Okay.
fine with that.
So as the consultant presented, we will add that to the list of items under consensus. So if we could have one final motion like you started, Commissioner Constantine.
All of what we consented.
second.
Madam Chair,
To
before we call
codify.
the question, can we just see if there's any community input on these comments that we have on the contract?
No, I closed public comment.
Okay?
I do have two more comments.
Yes.
One is, kind of in the process we're in right now, if there's anything else that you can think of that we would need to come back to the board for, or I think we've been pretty thorough here. I think we've covered all the items, so I just want to know walking away that there's nothing else that you are thinking that we might need to add to it, or anything that we would need to come back to the board. And the other thing I want to say is any discussions we have at this point, going forward, offer, contract, anything else is all contingent on background checks, clearing. We're very close to finalizing the background check on Mr. Gray. Your HR department has certain things that it does for potential new candidates that they'll have to kind of take over that process and and start that, whatever those things are. But any conversations we have, any language and any kind of thing that we do should be contingent upon everything that needs to be done on the front end for hiring an employee is cleared. The one other thing I'd like to mention is I know we said start date 30 days from today. I would probably like to extend that to perhaps 30 days from the day that terms are agreed upon.
Okay.
Because, if we're rocking along, and I think we're going to probably agree fairly quickly is my guess, but maybe 30 days from, I don't know, maybe we give a few more days just for negotiations, if you will, maybe 45 days max as far as the start date.
I would
Okay.
move a motion for March 1st if you want to consider that.
I'll second it.
There's a
No
motion-
later than March 1st?
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm fine with that.
Motion and a second, since it was in the form of a motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Commissioner Constantine, you were mid-motion. I don't believe your motion got a second. It did?
It did.
Yes.
Did we?
Yes,
And
we
we
took
took
it
the
up.
vote? Oh,
No vote.
No vote.
And that was amendment to the motion.
Right.
Thank you. So for clarity purposes, the vote that we just took was the amendment to the motion that Commissioner Constantine made, and so we're done.
So call the question.
Now we'll call a question and vote on it, on the motion.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Commissioner Herr.
I just wanted to say, we've thanked you enough, just so you know, Renee. So I'm not leaving you out of this, but thank you again. But I wanted to say thank you to Chairman Lockhart for your leadership through this process. The community meeting was a huge hit, and that was something that you were passionate about. It was a good outcome, maybe a recipe for success for other areas. I would be remiss if I didn't thank Melanie and all of your efforts for last night. It was wonderful. And all of your efforts corralling the cats through this entire process, because the cats up here are hard to corral. I'm one of them, I get it. Big shout out to the school board. All 5 school board members showed up last night. That was so cool. That was a great sign. City of Castleberry staff and their electeds. The city of Longwood, we had an elected there. Seminole State president and vice president and the person that runs their incubator. It was really a great turnout. And I think we can't stop without saying thank you to Bryant and Paul for stepping up in the craziness of the last, I don't know, Bryant, do you know exactly how many days it's been? Because I think you have like the atomic
Probably
clock
knows down
going on
to a
how many
minute.
days. But it's been a much longer time than anticipated. I would also say, Melanie and Tricia, thank you for keeping the train on the rails. Bryant, thank you for keeping us on the rails. It's been a wonderful division of what I would call church and state to make this all work. And then I'll round it out by saying thank you to the entire Seminole County staff, because transition is hard, and long transitions are hard, and having stuff be put on hold is hard, and not knowing who's going to lead is hard. We get it. I'm not going to apologize, because we did the right thing. We held out for the best possible candidate. We are in a really good spot, but without you guys, we would have been lost, so thank you.
Just a caveat, there was also a city commissioner from Altamont Springs there last night.
Oh, I
Yes.
did not.
Yes, there was.
Bob O'Malley
Well,
was there.
thank you.
You're
I
welcome.
didn't see him.
Yes, Commissioner Delary.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to echo the sentiments that Commissioner Hurst said about our staff and about all the transition. But at the appropriate time, we need to put Mr. Applegate back as the county attorney and unfortunately replace Mr. Chipak. Chippewa. So when would be the appropriate time for us to do that?
After we get him in.
After we,
I would say the effective date of the first day
Okay.
that he's back.
Do we just need to make a motion now, or do we want
I think it just happens by default, or should happen by default.
I think that's the understanding, and we can take that up more specifically when the contract is
to? Okay,
approved.
once the contract, I just want
Unless
to be
you
clear.
two fellows want to arm wrestle over.
No, I just want to.
all right. When we started this meeting, people said they wanted to get out of here in a timely fashion, so.
I just want to make sure that everyone understands what's happening.
Okay.
So I want to thank Mr. Applegate and the staff, as well as Mr. Chippewa. I think you all, as well as the remaining staff, has done a phenomenal job. I'm not going to echo what the commissioner said, but I just wanted to make sure we understood that time frame of how
Agreed.
that's going to take place. That's all.
That's great. Commissioner Zembauer?
I'm not going to repeat what's already been said. I agree 100%. Commissioner Herr summed that up very well. But I would add, my observation of the team here at the county and the staff speaks volumes of the ethics of much of our staff, who, in a void of leadership, truly stood up and went above and beyond, knowing that we were struggling at the top, and actually did some things that they typically don't have to do. So thank you all very much for that. And thank my fellow commissioners for us working through this process in the best interest of the citizens.
Absolutely. Agree 100%. Yes, Mr. Applegate.
I just have to say that really, and someone alluded to it, Tricia and Melanie really were the ones that carried the ball. They were incredible to work with. I can't say enough about the two of them. This has been an eye-opening experience for me. It's given me a whole new perspective, but what the two of them have done over the last year in keeping the mechanics, the inner workings of the gears turning, while I was signing, I felt like Colonel Blake in MASH. What am I signing today? Just sign it. And so I want to thank the two of them from the bottom of my heart. And then, of course, for Paul, I think Paul's got a whole new perspective of that as well. And Renee, never worked with anyone in these kind of processes. I have just enjoyed this experience tremendously, so thank you.
Same here, Brian. Thank you.
All right.
Madam Chair, if we would, I think it'd be appropriate if we actually formalize our thanks and gratitude to Renee and her firm. If we can write a thank you under your signature, I think it'd be appropriate.
That's great. I would be happy to do that. Is there consensus for that?
Yep.
All right.
Consensus. Now, I'm a little concerned where Tricia's at. I mean, we made this decision. She's already left. Probably on the way to get on a cruise.
Check the local bars.
Yeah. All right. Without any further business to come before the board, this meeting is adjourned.